If you're a coach, you know the feeling. That moment in a session where you think, whoa, this feels heavy. You sense you're approaching a line, the line between coaching and therapy. Knowing where that boundary is, and just as importantly, what to do when you get there, is one of the most critical skills we can have. So, in this explainer, we're going to build a guide to help you navigate it with confidence. Let's get into it. This right here, this is the question that can keep even the best coaches up at night. You're in a session and it gets incredibly emotional. Is this a powerful moment of growth that you can help facilitate? Or is it a signal that your client needs something more, something different? Honestly, knowing the difference is the bedrock of ethical and truly effective coaching. To get that clarity, we're going to walk through 5 key areas. First, we'll nail down the core distinction between the two practices. Then, we'll map out the clear, bright red lines when referral is a must. After that, we'll dive into those tricky gray areas, unpack the real truth about handling emotions in coaching, and finally, wrap it all up with your ethical compass. Okay, let's start at the very beginning, the foundation. The difference between coaching and therapy isn't just about the tools we use in a session, it goes way deeper than that. It's about the entire philosophy behind the work, 2 totally distinct models that create 2 very different journeys. This is probably the most important distinction to get. Therapy often works from what's called a medical model. It's designed to diagnose and treat a problem, helping someone move from a place of dysfunction back to a baseline of health. But coaching, we start from a completely different place. It's a forward movement model. We see our clients as already whole, creative, and resourceful. Our job is to partner with them to unlock their future potential. So think of it this way. Therapy is often about recovery, while coaching is all about discovery. And what's really cool is that this idea of forward movement is literally baked into the DNA of the word coach. It actually started way back in 15th century Hungary with a special horse-drawn carriage from a town called Kocz. It was a vehicle designed for one purpose, to carry someone from where they were to where they needed to go. And that meaning just stuck around. By the 1800s, a coach was a tutor who carried a student through their exams. It's such a powerful reminder of our role today, isn't it? We are the vehicle that helps carry our clients forward. Okay, so now let's get into the most critical part of our professional ethics. Because while some situations are a bit gray, there are some bright red lines. Situations where referring a client to a therapist isn't just a suggestion, it is an absolute necessity. These are the undeniable red flags. If a client is talking about serious suicidal thoughts, if they're dealing with substance abuse, showing signs of a thought disorder like paranoia, struggling with a serious eating disorder, or just having major trouble with basic daily functioning, our job is crystal clear. We are not equipped to handle these issues. Our one and only role is to refer them to a trained professional who is. This is all about client safety and our ethical duty. And this visual really shows us why that referral is so vital. The world of therapy is massive and highly specialized. You have things like cognitive behavioral therapy, or CBT, for reframing thought patterns. You have EMDR for processing trauma, and so many more. Now, we don't need to be experts in these, but we absolutely have to respect the expertise it takes and know when it's time to pass the baton. But what about the situations that aren't so clear-cut? Well, that's when we enter the gray area. And in this territory, our most important tool isn't a coaching model or a fancy technique. It's our own self-awareness. So I want you to take a second and really ask yourself this. How do you feel when a session starts to stretch your own limits? What are your personal internal signals that tell you, I might be getting in over my head here? These feelings, these are your internal compass. If you start feeling responsible for fixing your client, if you're feeling stressed or anxious about their issues, if you feel like you failed them or that they're getting way too dependent on you, listen to that. These are all crucial data points. They are not signs that you're a bad coach. They are signals that your client's needs might have grown beyond the scope of coaching. And that's the big takeaway here. This isn't a one-and-done kind of check-in. Constant self-reflection, that is a core competency for any professional coach. Monitoring our own reactions is every bit as important as listening to our clients. Now let's tackle one of the trickiest, most confusing areas for coaches, emotions. For the longest time, the profession has sent some really mixed messages on this, but a clearer, much more effective understanding is finally starting to emerge. For a long time, this was kind of the standard advice in coaching, the idea that, sure, emotion can be present, but it's not the work. It basically put up a wall, suggesting that as soon as a client gets really emotional, we're wandering into therapy's backyard. And frankly, it created a lot of fear and made coaches pull back right when things were getting real. But thankfully, the thinking on this has evolved. We're now starting to understand that this old myth that coaches don't do emotions, it severely limits how effective we can be. Accessing a client's core emotions isn't a detour. A lot of the time, it's the most direct route to a breakthrough. The key difference is we aren't there to analyze or treat the emotion like a therapist might. We're there to be present with it, to acknowledge it, and to use it as valuable information to help the client move forward. So what's the bottom line for you as a coach? It comes down to this. Your capacity to sit with a client's strong emotions is directly connected to the emotional work you've done on yourself. There is no rule that says you have to handle more than you feel equipped for. Your boundary is your own, and it is your deep responsibility to know it and to honor it. Okay, let's bring all of this home. Navigating this fine line is really a combination of professional ethics, deep personal responsibility, and a real commitment to our own continuous growth. And look, this isn't just good practice, it is written directly into our code of ethics. The International Coaching Federation is explicit. It says we must recognize when a client's needs fall outside our scope and refer them appropriately. This is our fundamental duty of care. So what does this actually look like in practice? Here is a clear 4-step process for making a referral. Step 1, monitor your internal compass. Listen to those feelings we talked about. Step 2, recognize and acknowledge to yourself, okay, this is beyond my scope. Step 3, you have to inform the client and do it clearly, calmly, and with zero judgment. And finally, step 4, which is so important, empower them. This isn't about abandoning your client. It's about co-creating a plan with them to find the right resources. We've covered a ton of ground, from the high-level philosophy all the way down to practical steps. But it all comes back to you. The sharpest, most reliable tool you have for navigating this boundary is your own self-awareness. So the final question I want to leave you with is this. What is one concrete action you will take this week to deepen that awareness in your own practice?